go.
Nelson?
Here.
Gingell?
Here.
Gershenson?
Here.
Lubes?
Here.
Taub?
Here.
Quarles?
Here. Will you join me as we say pledge allegiance to the flag? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Move for approval of the minutes for February 25th meeting. Motion by Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner Gershenson. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Not hearing any, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes, the same sign. Motion carried. Move for the agenda. On the agenda, item number 1, I would like to remove it until our next meeting. I need to talk with the chair on the appointments to that committee. So that will be my correction to the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as corrected? Moved by Commissioner
Lubes.
and seconded by Commissioner Gershenson. Any discussion?
I just have a question. On the appointments to subcommittee.
Deferred
Okay.
conversation.
Actually, no, my questions are further down. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor of we can do a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes, the same
No.
sign. Yeah. You noted that one opposition. The ayes are in favor, so the motion carries. Any public comment today? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Did you sign in?
Yes.
Okay.
Your pen or our pen? Okay.
You'll have a seat at the end. Have a seat and introduce yourself there at the microphone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Christine Aboud. I'm a retired Detroit public school teacher of 40 years, currently working 2 jobs right now. And
Microphone on.
Just if you hit the button there, it'll turn green.
It'll turn green.
it's green.
And you
Move it
need to speak
closer.
into it because you're on television and people can't hear you.
Move it closer to you, maybe.
Okay, I'll use my teacher voice.
Now you got it.
Okay, so I'm a retired Detroit school teacher from Detroit Public Schools and currently working 2 jobs right now, so I don't know what retirement means. I was awakened to some activity when I had business dealings in Oakland County Probate Court, and after being a union activist and building representative for many decades, sitting on the exec board of the Detroit Teachers Union and currently sitting and working with the Detroit retirees, I know corruption when I see it. I can identify all the threads, and I don't like it. And I don't like it particularly when people try to whitewash it and try to make excuses and pull into their magic bag of tricks to kind of colorfully cover it all up. So I'll get down to the brass tacks. How many of you are aware that 4 public administrators over in probate court are currently under federal investigation? Okay, well, they are. And they have all hired an attorney. Who deals particularly Teresa Ascoclis to represent them, who currently deals with legal malpractice. So apparently the public administrators are working to protect their legal attorney misdoings. But they are also public administrators hired by Bill Moody's office in the Michigan, up in Lansing. So we have a problem because Lansing feels, well, it's not our problem because we hire them under public administrator to do decedents' work on their files. But when they act as guardians, and if they are doing criminal behavior, that's out of our ballpark because they're wearing a different hat. So we won't act on it. All right, let me make something clear. As a teacher, if I'm employed by a school district and I took an oath and I'm working in that school district and I'm doing wonderful work, I'm doing my job, putting on a smiley face, everybody loves me, and then I go take a tutoring job at another place and I'm accused of sexually assaulting that child while
Miss-
working as a
Ms.
teacher.
Abu, I just wanted to remind you, have 3 minutes.
Yes, I
Okay,
know.
and you're approaching 1 minute left.
1 minute? Okay. And I'm working as a teacher with my state license and the ethics code that I have to go by, and I am accused of sexually assaulting or doing something to that child in another institution, you better believe that my school district will remove me immediately on pending investigation. Because I did something not as a pole dancer outside, but in the realm of my certifications and state-approved board license.
Okay.
The same thing applies.
Ms. Abu,
Yes.
the 3 minutes have elapsed. Do you want to finish up, please?
Yes. So basically, we have Barbara Andalucci, who has been accused of something, and she's rehired back by 4 probate judges. And her answer to questioning was, well, they hired me back. Okay. So we have a double standard also being watched here. And also, is there a Shelley Goodman Taub here? Shelley Taub?
Ms. Abu, your 3 minutes and
I
even
just
the
wanna-
extra time
Yes.
that I've given you has elapsed.
Okay, I just want to thank you for your article on Susan B. Anthony, published March 16th in the Oakland Press. It was a wonderful eye-opener, and we hope to continue our fights. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close the public comments. Moving to communications. We need a motion to receive and file communications items A through C. Is there a motion to, moved by Commissioner Genjo, supported, and second by Commissioner Nelson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Moving to our regular agenda, starting with item number 2. We have Jim Ryan here today from Public Affairs Association. As most of you know, he works for us as a government relation officer. And I'm gonna let him tell you about what he does for us and introduce himself.
Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Jim Ryan. I'm a lobbyist with Public Affairs Associates, and I've been working with the county for a number of years. Commissioner Quarles asked me to come here this morning and talk about a couple of things that we're doing on your behalf. So before that, she also asked me to talk a little bit about how we partner with other interests and associations up in Lansing. We are a firm of 10 lobbyists, and we represent a number of different clients, including the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. On behalf of the county, we work closely with other counties in Lansing, as well as the Michigan Association of Counties when we have shared interests. And it's obviously a bipartisan responsibility that we take to work with both sides of the aisle. I've been working very closely for years with Commissioners Woodward and Gingell, and since the beginning of this year, basically I've been working directly with Dave Woodward in terms of what we're doing up in Lansing, and those are the things I'd like to talk about for a moment. First of all, right at the beginning of the year, Commissioner Woodward asked me to start working on an appropriations for the school breakfast program. As many of you know, this is a program that needs about $1.1 million in order to expand the current program that is underused at this time. The county has agreed to put in $500,000 and has asked us in the state to try to see if we can get the matching funds of another $500,000. Together, that million could help draw down $12 million overall for the county for every school district. So I began meeting with appropriation members, talking to them about this project, working with Commissioner Woodward. Obviously, the budget process has begun. The governor presented her budget a couple weeks ago. Met with the governor's office. I've met with appropriations people. I'm going through the entire delegation of Oakland County. The good news is that everybody so far that I've met with is in support of the appropriation. And what it would be about $135,000 a year for 3 years to get us to the $500,000. So again, what we're asking for this year in the K-12 budget is about $135,000 for this specific program. Obviously, this is going to have to be inserted by one of the appropriations committees, concurred with the other one, and then supported by the governor. So it's got a long way to go. Obviously, this is the first year in quite some time that you've had two parties represented in majorities, because now that with the governor's office being with Gretchen Whitmer and the two houses controlled by the Republicans, the process is going to work a little bit different this year, to be completely honest. We don't know exactly what that's going to mean, but we'll see what happens with respect to this money. What I would ask you to do, and ask every commissioner, is please call your legislator, your senator or representative, and express your support for this appropriation. Not that anybody is not supported as of yet. Everybody is very supportive that I've spoken to, pretty much the entire delegation. It's now, we're moving outside of Oakland County into other counties. And what's been interesting in these meetings, say for example with Senator Schmidt up in Traverse City, who's the chair of the K-12 committee, appropriations committee, he wants to do it for his county. When we told him what we do, he's like, this is great, how can we do it? And I said, well, you can do it, you know, nothing's stopping you from doing it, but we have already established this private-public partnership with the United Way. We're ready to go, and we're happy to support you as well, but you know, we'd like to get up and started this year. So it is being well received, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna get approved at the end of the day, so we have to keep working on it. Before I move to the next topic, are there any questions with respect to that?
Commissioner Todd?
Thank you. Hi, Jim. Thank you. I do have some questions. The first thing you said is that the breakfast program is underused. Tell me what you're talking about.
Well, I was given a report put forth by the United Way, and as a former school teacher myself, I can remember the time when, you know, you hated to be the poor kid standing in the cafeteria line in the morning getting a free breakfast. That's kind of, you know, not very comfortable. So, what the United Way has done is, well, first of all, there's a lot of reasons why kids aren't taking advantage of the program. One is that it doesn't really fit the way kids deal with things today. This is according to the experts at United Way and others. What they're saying is that instead of the traditional cafeteria line in the morning, they would like to institute, they would like to use this money to do things such as a food cart, where by the entrance to the school, there's a cart there, they could grab a burrito on their way to class, and they don't have to wait in any lines, they don't have to stop or anything like that. And then a lot of the kids that are late never get a chance to, so there's another program that they want to put into the schools, which is called the Second Chance Breakfast, so that if you get there late, you don't have a chance to get anything. After the first period, you could run by, grab something. So there's these new ways of doing things that the kids obviously make it easier for them to take advantage of the program, because the more of the kids that participate in the program, the more money that is drawn down by the from federal dollars. So, and again, all the studies show that kids that eat their breakfast are happier, do better in school, concentrate better, healthier. So it's just something that is worth investing in.
Okay, may I follow up, Madam Chair? United Way, are they putting any funding into this?
You know, not that I am aware of at this time. We're using the funds to have the United Way go into the schools to tell the teachers and the administrators, here's the program, here's how we want to do. We don't want teachers and administrators doing this. The United Way is getting their participation in this, is going into the school districts and helping the teachers and staff learn the best way to do these things.
Yes. To that point, I was at the pilot in Oakland County at Southfield Schools, and it's a three-prong. It's the county commissioners, United Way, and the Intermediate School District, and each one of them have a role in it. You're right about the cart. They're using the cart, and one of the other things that they're adding to Southfield is that they're not taking the cart away after breakfast. They leave it out there so students who come in late, or those who later in the day want to grab something they can feel free. I just want to add that. Commissioner Tom, you have anything else?
Yes, I do. Has anyone looked at Bloomfield Hills High School? That's a model for this whole program. They do exactly what you're describing, and the school does it itself. There is no cafeteria there.
Is that right?
There is no cafeteria there. Kids go when they're hungry. They can grab an energy bar or a banana or whatever they choose to eat at any point in time, and eat it wherever they wish.
Yeah, I don't know if they've looked at, what I know though, what they did look at is they looked at the participation levels of each school district, and they ranked them as tier 1, 2, and 3, and I would assume that Bloomfield's in 3, because tier 1 would be the districts that use the program the least. So that's the initial target of the first year of this program, is to go into those districts. I guess I could give you the list unless you guys already have that list that was given to me of who is in the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. But what they're going to focus, the United Way is going to focus the first year in the tier 1 school districts, which are the greatest underperforming in terms of taking advantage of the breakfast program. And I would assume that you're down in tier 3 because you have such a high participation rate. We'd all like to get to that, actually.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Gershenson? Again, Jim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just gonna tell Jim, thanks for working with us on this. I know we're asking you to help find appropriations and may not know every answer to every question about the program. The United Way is running a lot of it, which is why we're partnering with them to get consistency within all the schools. So there might be a school that's doing one thing today that could be really great, but the reality is when you look at Oakland County, if I'm remembering correctly, about 1/3 of the kids get free or subsidized lunch in Oakland County, regardless of our status of a wealthy county, whatever. When 1/3 of the kids are having this issue, regardless of your party, we should be doing something about it. And so I appreciate the effort on the program. I think it's going to be a good program overall for the schools and the kids. And, you know, we look forward to doing what we can to help secure that appropriation. And I think it is important that we try to work with you because you have a House and a Senate that's Republican, you have a governor that's a Democrat, and we need to collaborate to get this done. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, one of the nice, thanks, appreciate that. One of the nice things in representing Oakland County is here's another example of when we go around Lansing talking about what we're doing in Oakland County, all the other counties are like, well, I want to do that. You know, Traverse City Chairman Schmidt, he wants to do it. Senator Stamas, the Chair of Appropriations in Midland, wants to know why he can't do it in his county. And I said, well, you can, it's just that we're one step ahead of you. So it's kind of nice, so.
Okay, any further questions? Just so you know, Ms. Abdul, Ms. A, this is the time that the commissioners deliberate. We do not allow for public comment during this time.
Oh, I see.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to talk real briefly about the governor's budget proposal. Includes a 3% increase for county revenue sharing. Hooray, hooray, that's very nice. One of the problems, I don't know if it's a problem yet, but obviously, just because the governor proposes something doesn't mean that that's what's eventually going to be in the final budget approved by the governor. So this is something that we're going to continue to work, you know, hand in hand with MAC on. We work very closely with them and their representatives and other counties who want to help us support maintaining that 3%. If I was to guess, I don't think this budget's going to be resolved easily and timely. We're used now to the last 8 years of the budget being done on June 10th. With what the governor has proposed in her budget and with the gas tax proposal and others, it's not being looked at favorably by the Republican legislature. So what that has meant historically was that long summer battles over what's eventually going to be in there. At the end of the day, the budget has to be approved by October 1, as you know, Madam Chair. So hopefully we can get to something before the final deadline. I won't get into any more of the budget unless you have specific questions. The other issue that seems to be, well, that doesn't seem to be, but it's been very hot for a couple of years now. We've been working on, and under the Gingell administration, now the Woodward administration, the raise the age of juveniles from 17 to 18 so that 18-year-olds or higher are dealt with the regular courts. The main issue, I think everybody across the board is in support of the issue of raising the age from 17 to 18. The stumbling block has been, as it most often, almost always is funding. Will new facilities need to be built? You know, all the money that's going to follow those kids that are 17 now that will be, or young adults that will now be moved into the adult system. So I think we're very close on coming to some agreement on that package. It is being testimony is being taken currently in the State Senate Judiciary Committee. It's a very bipartisan package of legislation. It's about 5 bills, both Democrat and Republican support. And as I said, the final hurdle agreement that needs to be made is just exactly how much funding will follow it. At the end of the day, I think we're gonna have the bills come out, maybe not before spring break. Legislature breaks after this week for 2 weeks. Maybe when they return, we'll probably see some movement on those bills. Any questions on that issue? Let's see. Well, those are the things I'm currently working on. Many of you know how we've done these things in the past. I don't know, we haven't really specifically dealt on how we're gonna move forward in the future yet, so that is yet to come. But happy to take any questions. And for the newer members, I just would encourage you that, you know, in the formal committee setting that we have these reports, but I'm here at the board meetings almost all the time. If you have something that you'd like me to look into in Lansing or have an issue that you need some background on, just grab me and let me know, and I'm happy to get back to you. Okay.
Thank you.
One question I have, more of a statement. There are several government affairs, individuals that work with various departments within Oakland County, the executive office, the water department, a couple others. Do you all ever coordinate your efforts?
Yeah, certainly. I'd say since I've been doing this with the county probably 7 or 8 years now, we're pretty much hand in hand with the executive 90% of the time. So there's a guy from the firm that represents Brooks that I work with generally on Oakland County issues. You would know, you remember Brett Marr, Commissioner Quarles. So Brett does the work for Brooks, so we work together on county issues all the time.
Okay, Commissioner Gershenson, followed by Commissioner Genji.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Last term, there was a legislative committee that you met with on occasion before board meetings. Has that been reinstated?
I'm assuming this is taking its place.
This is okay, so then any issues any commissioners have that they want to bring forward to us, come to this committee then now. Okay, thank you.
And it's my understanding that you want me to present to this meeting once a month.
Right.
So that's how we're gonna move forward.
Great.
Commissioner Genjo?
Yeah, maybe just a couple comments. I don't know exactly how Dave wants to handle it, but normally in the past, we had a committee that would stay apprised of the issues, and then if there was a request for Jim to do something, it would go through the chair. So we probably all should talk with Dave and see how he wants to handle that, so that it's coordinated and we don't send Jim or PAA mixed messages. I think that's fair and appropriate. And then the other thing that might be helpful, so not that it matters, but if anybody wants to talk about the lobbyist, how we've used them, why we have one versus Brooks versus the sheriff, I can give the perspective that I have outside of this meeting, happy to do it. At the end of the day, there are times, even in the past, that the board may have taken a different position on issues than the administration. And unless you are there and you have eyes and ears there, you don't necessarily find out about it, which happened in the past on occasion. The other thing that I would say is that we have worked hard to coordinate the board's lobbyist with other entities' lobbyists on issues where we have the same principle and desired outcome. And in Lansing, I'm not an expert, but with term limits, reps and senators come and go. And there's a lot of institutional knowledge that's not there. And my perspective is the consultants have a lot of that historical and institutional knowledge. And when you get down to people that are there for a period of time, 4 years or 6 years, a lot of it's about relationships that are developed, and not everybody can have a great relationship with every person. So when you combine consultant firms on a common issue and you utilize relationships that Jim might have with 3 people and Brett Marr might have with another 3 people, and you pull it together, that's how we've been trying to do it. So I know Dave is, and all of you are probably familiar with all of that, and I'm assuming that that would continue to work that way. That's how we've been able to get things done. So hopefully that helps. If anybody's looking for more detail, I'm happy to explain at least what I know.
Okay, thank you. Just so that you know, I know I've had an opportunity to talk to a couple of you. The perspective that Chairman Woodward have is that government affairs consultant will report to this committee. If there's an issue, to bring it to me, and then we will, and it's just that it's up to what, similar to what Commissioner Genjo said, you don't want bombarded, but we're not trying to keep it in one way. Okay? Commissioner Tom?
I wasn't gonna ask a question, Jim, but here I am. Now that I know that this is the committee you refer to as opposed to a separate legislative organization or committee, I have major concerns, as does MAC, about the age 17. It's not that we don't agree with the idea of kids 17 years old being housed here rather than at Children's Village rather than in the jail, but the question is Children's Village. Very few counties, if any, have what we have here, Children's Village. So consequently, I don't know, and I think this is something you need to talk to with the administration. Do we have the facility to hold these people? I don't know that answer. In other words, well, we have to build. And, you know, hiring more staff, as long as they supply the money, that's easy. But having the room, that's hard. The second thing that nobody has thought of, so I guess I may as well dump it on you, is this. As we know, in this state, you can quit school, high school at 16, correct?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay, you can. You can leave school at 16, okay? What responsibility do we as a county, we run a full school with Waterford Schools over at Children's Village, pre-K or K through 12, okay? And kids go to school every single day over there, just as they do elsewhere. If they're not at Children's Village, either they're incarcerated over there, or they are, you know, sadly disowned or kicked out of the house or removed from the home. So now my question to you is this. We're going to have 17-year-olds over there who don't have to go to school, period. Don't you think it would be wise for the state to increase the age that kids have to stay in school if they're going to say they're children at 17, which, okay, that's fine. They don't belong in big lockdown over here at the big jail. Then I think they need to be, otherwise you're going to be, it's going to be awful having kids leave lockdown to go, or however they educate them, and a bunch of 17-year-olds hanging around in their cells all day. So think about that. I think that is something that should come from somebody. I don't know which legislator it should go to, but I truly believe that the age of quitting school ought to go to 17 if we're going to consider them kids. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I did talk to Jerry Poison about the progress on that Raise the Age package and how it affects the county and whether he's got a position on it. And I guess the best way to define his response was it's gotten close enough for him, the numbers-wise, that like usual, he'll deal with what the state forces him to deal with, and he'll figure out a solution. So he's not opposing it, if that tells you where the administration is.
Okay. But the other
I
portion
think
of it,
he's experienced enough to know that no matter what percentage of dollars that the state finally agrees to give the counties, is not gonna be enough, never is, so.
yeah, well, my concern wasn't in the amount of money that comes in for social workers or whatever. My concern was twofold. One, do we have to build? But more importantly, what are we going to do with kids who are 17 who've dropped out of school at 16? And what are we going to do with them all day long if they don't want to go to school? They don't have to go to school, so to speak. So, just a thought.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any further discussion? Well, thank you, Jim. We know that we'll be hearing from you at least once a month, if not more.
All right, sounds good, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving forward, the next item on the agenda is the applications from the review of the Oakland County Health Network Communities applications that have been received. As we know, we have received a packet of information on people who have applied. For the first time since I've been on this committee, well, when it was general government, categories. So, here's what I suggest that the committee do. Let's start with the secondary consumer. And look at the 4 applicants that are there. And have a discussion.
Okay,
Commissioner Gersison.
so you want a discussion rather than a nomination?
I would like to discuss the applicant first.
Okay, so I am supporting Hadass Bernard for secondary consumer. I know her, I've worked with her, I've seen her work in the community, and I think there are all good candidates for this, and it's great to have this much, and all the resumes were compelling. But I do have a personal knowledge of Ms. Bernard's contributions, and so I would recommend that we support her for secondary consumer.
Okay, can we just do the discussion first and then
Oh, sure.
come back and do
Yeah.
Commissioner Tom, your hand was up, and then followed by Commissioner Gentle.
So, am I assuming we're never gonna see these people in person and interview them? I have no objection, by the way. She was my choice as well.
Oh, good.
But I think rather than nominating, we ought to at least interview some. You know, anybody in the whole world can write these applications. We all know that. I mean, and I'm not, again, as I said, I'm not, you picked the right one, Chairman, for us to start with, because I have no problem with this particular woman. I think she's terrific. However, you don't know about applicants, and you don't know whether they have the time. This is and I hate to say this, but this is a $300+ million board. That it's not like other boards that we assign people to. I think their budget is 320 or 40 million. That's a lot of money, okay? They have 3 meetings a month minimum. Some of them are during the day. I don't know people, whether they can get out of work. If someone works in Timbuktu, can they come here? I think it's very important for us to interview, at least eliminate down so that we have some people to interview. Because we may find out that somebody works in Kalamazoo during the week and can't possibly make anything but 1 meeting a month. That's not gonna serve us with that kind of a board. It's just my personal opinion. So I think we need to talk to people and see them in person as opposed to, you know, just rubber stamping them. And I don't mean we're rubber stamping, because as I said, I thought that this woman was terrific too in that category. So that has, you know, no other bearing, but I think we ought to give people an opportunity to come in and interview them. That's just my personal opinion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Gentle.
Yeah, thank you. I was gonna ask a similar question, which is just a procedural question. So I've read here, and it says that the committee has the discretion to waive interview requirements as we deem necessary, and then it talked further down about reviewing the responses and then scheduling application or interviews if applicable for April 8th. So I'm confused. I didn't know if we're moving to appoint people today, or if this is about trying to limit the individuals in order for interviews to be granted, if that's what we're choosing to do. I know in the past, there was always an outcry to do interviews. At times, the majority did, and sometimes we didn't, so I recognize and appreciate that. I'm just trying to understand what is the process here today.
Okay. Process today is we're going to, let me grab my notes here. We're going to discuss the applicants. My intent is to come out with a recommendation for the full board from this committee today. As I'm sure everyone here knows that in our rules, we can make the recommendation. I will need to, there's one I need to, give suspend the rules.
Could
Waive.
Our board rules give us the ability to waive the requirements if we should choose to do that.
And I apologize, I meant to bring
It'll be a separate motion.
I meant to bring the board rules, but it's rule number 130000, where we can waive the interview. to answer your question. So yes, to answer your question, to discuss, to make a recommendation, unless we come to a point where we cannot make a recommendation, then we will bring them in and have interview. If we look at the chart that has been put together for us, we see that most of these openings are coming forward quickly, and having read and having discussed, it appears that we can move forward with making the recommendation. And Commissioner Ginger.
Yeah, so thank you, I appreciate it. I was just trying to make sure that I'm clear. I know it's our right. I know in the past, there's always been a request. I know for the road commission and for others, we didn't, majority choose not to interview, so certainly the majority's right. I just wanted to make sure I understood what we were doing today, so it's helpful, thank you.
Yes, and Commissioner Quarles stated how she wanted to proceed at the last few meetings, because we all were asking whether we're gonna do interviews or not. And I have made it, I've taken the responsibility of calling several of the applicants, because I do know, Shelley, it's an intense workload, and I wanted to be sure that the candidates' schedule allowed that before I could support any of them. So any of the candidates I will be supporting, I have spoken to, and that they are aware of the time commitment, and their schedules do permit them participating.
Any further discussion on any of the candidates for secondary consumer?
I would recommend you take the motion to suspend first. Make your appointment.
Okay, well, I'm trying to see if there's further discussion first. Is there a motion to suspend the interviews?
For this,
Yep. Moved by Commissioner Gersson, seconded by Commissioner Nelson. Is there a recommendation that you want to bring forward? Oh.
Nelson,
yes.
Gingell,
No.
Kirshenson,
Yes.
Lutz,
Yes.
Todd,
No.
Quarles.
Yes.
We have 4 yeas and 2 nays.
That motion carries. The floor is open for a recommendation of Commissioner Gersson.
I'd like to nominate Hadass Bernard for secondary consumer.
Support.
It has been motion and seconded. Bernard for secondary consumer. Any further nominations? Move to close nomination process.
Gingell,
Yes.
Kirshenson,
Yes.
Lutz,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Quarles.
Yes. Okay. So the recommendation from the committee for the secondary consumer would be Haddad Bernard. Moving to, I always refer to this as a person that's working involvement with the mental health services. Correct title is representative of agency or occupation having working involvement with mental health services. Open the floor for discussion. Commissioner Tom, followed by Commissioner.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Harry Pianco, and I am nominating him because, as I said before, this is a over $300 million operation. He is a CPA. He's got good working relations with other organizations. He's a secondary consumer, I think. Wait, let me just go through this. I've got all this stuff here. So I think with his skills, he lives in, I think, Lathrop Village, if I'm not mistaken, Southfield area. I don't know the man, but I think with his skills, that's the kind of a skill that is needed in an operation like this. The organization has 2 committees. One is policy and the other is finance. And we have so few finance people And, you know, money's always tight, so that's who I'm nominating.
Further discussion, Commissioner? We're actually supposed to be discussing
Oh, I'm
right now.
Okay.
Commissioner Blue.
Sarah Guadalupe would be my choice. I know Sarah personally. Presently, she's Director of Disability Services at Oakland University. We met in 2003 when we worked together for more than 10 years at Common Ground. She's a social worker. She will have her PhD in this upcoming year. She also teaches on a substitute basis at Wayne State University. So she's well versed in the field of community mental health, and she's good at what she does.
Any further discussion? Yes.
My only question is, will she be able to make 3 o'clock, all the meetings? I mean, see, that's the problem with not interviewing people. There's a meeting at 5 o'clock, meetings at 3 o'clock, other meetings at 5 o'clock. I mean, will she be able to make these meetings, do you think?
I'm sure she will. In the world of social work and counseling and therapy, our field is flexible. So just as I have the ability to rearrange my schedule to accommodate meetings, she will too.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any further discussion? I open the floor.
I think you have a motion in a second. Shelley's nomination.
Well, I didn't take the second, because I told him we were in the middle of discussion.
Was that an official, if it was a nomination, she was second.
What?
So I will have withdrawn my second for continued
Discussion.
Okay.
Right. Okay, now, any further nominations, any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Sarah Guadalupe.
Okay, is there a second? Has been,
Who's the second?
Commissioner Kirschner.
Okay.
Any further nominations?
Well, I'd like to nominate Harry Bianco.
Okay. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Gencher. Okay. Any further nominations? Then we'll close the floor. We have 2 names before us. When you call, I would ask you to,
Want to do each nomination separate?
we'll start with, the first one that was nominated was
Right.
Sarah Guadalupe.
That's Sarah.
Sarah.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Lubes,
Yes.
Todd,
No?
Nelson,
Yes.
Gingell,
No.
Quarles,
Yes. Okay, and the second,
for
and,
Bianco,
yes.
is Lubes,
No.
Todd,
Yes?
Nelson,
No.
Gingell,
Yes.
Gershenson,
No.
Quarles,
No.
2 yeas, 4 nays.
So the name that we will bring forth is Sarah Guadalupe.
Guadalupe.
Guadalupe. Okay, thank you. Moving on to primary consumer, or anyone? Yeah, we just supposed to, for primary consumer, any discussion on any of the candidates? Commissioner Gershenson?
Well, I would like to bring to the board's attention Malkia Newman. I think we all know Malkia. She's played an incredible role as an advocate for this committee. And I see that she was filling 2 positions, which I didn't understand.
Oh, no,
Oh, is that a mistake?
To clarify, she's an incumbent under primary right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Then what does that mean? Does she
She's
apply?
the current, she's. filling
No,
the
but
current-
why is she under the
She
agency?
applied for both.
Okay.
She did apply for both.
Oh, so that's
So
just an
that's-
applicant, because you said incumbent.
She actually submitted 2 applications, but she's an
Okay.
incumbent for the primary consumer.
I see, okay. I wasn't
In the packet,
clear
there are
on
two
that.
applications.
Okay, so, so I am, would ask the committee to, seriously consider Malchiah for this role.
Commissioner Tom?
I'm sorry, did you want a second on that?
No, I didn't nominate.
Yeah, we're doing discussion now.
I noticed her application, part of the mental health code says that you may not work for an organization that contracts, and I have to find it, I don't know where it is, it's somewhere in here, that contracts with somebody that does have services that are paid for by community mental health or OWN or whatever, in a supervisory position where you make decisions, okay? If you're just a worker and you're not on the board and you don't make any decisions, you could qualify. And on Malchiah's application, she says, are you an employee or independent contractor in a non-policy making position with an agency under contract with Oakland Community Health Network? She says yes. And then it says, please explain, I work for CNS Healthcare, and they are a contracted person. Then it says, our, wait a minute, decision making, it's somewhere here on, where she says she's applying for, I'm having trouble finding it now, but that she is in a decision making position. And I'll have to find it here somewhere. But that's something that is important to me anyway. I'll have to find it on the application.
258. I gave you a copy.
Yeah.
Well, Malachi is on the board now, isn't she?
Correct. That
Yes,
was not
but-
valid at the time
Yeah,
we appointed
yeah.
her the last time.
Yeah,
So we
Yeah.
considered that and we deemed that she was a good candidate for this position.
Okay.
okay, fine. I mean,
Any further discussion?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So when we appointed her before, she was working for Oakland County Community Health Network?
I couldn't say for sure,
Yeah, no,
but I think she's been with them for a while.
Okay, so she may have switched jobs since she was appointed last time.
Honestly, right.
No,
don't
I
know
have
yet,
no-
I'm just asking.
and I have no objection. I just want to make sure that she's not in a decision-making position. Okay, so, other than that, she's fine with me.
And since she's on the board now and serving both on the board as well as in whatever position she holds, hasn't been deemed as conflict. Any further discussion? Closed discussion, is there a nomination for the primary consumer? Commissioner Gurchison?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Malchiah Newman.
I'll support that.
Thank you, Shelley.
Supported by Commissioner Tom. Any further nominations? I'll move nominations closed. Call the vote, please.
Okay, Todd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Gingell,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Lubes,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes. And the name that we'll submit as our recommendation for primary consumer is Malachi Newman to the full board. Moving on to the general public, opening it up for discussion. Okay, Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you. I'd first like to say that choosing from the pool of outstanding individuals who expressed interest, it was a challenge. I mean, I think that throughout all the applicants and their information, they all are pretty great candidates. However, after careful review and consideration, I'd like to nominate John Paul Torres for a general public seat. I think that his 17 years of experience in criminal youth justice and court treatment will be a valuable asset.
Okay, so during our discussion. Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Tom, followed by Commissioner Gurchison.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Lois
We're just
Schu-
discussing.
We're doing
Oh,
discussion.
okay. I will oppose John Paul Torres for two reasons. He was not renominated for this board several years ago, you may recall.
I do.
And he left our county employ under, I can't go into it right now, under difficult circumstances, so I will not be supporting him for this at all.
I actually wasn't gonna bring up that horrible debacle when John Paul Torres was taken off the board against the support of a former board member, and I can't remember his name, John, starts with a B. Boker, who came to the Republican caucus and asked you not to take him off the board because he was doing such a good job. But that request fell on deaf ears, and John Paul Torres was taken off the board. Strictly, I felt, on a partisan vote. So I am going to support John Paul Torres' nomination, as I feel he shouldn't have been taken off in the first place, and has really contributed to our community.
Okay, any further discussion of candidates?
Yeah. Just a point of clarification on that one. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate the recollection of John Boker coming to the Republican caucus. He surely did. And as you know, there's 3 and 4 sides to every story.
Sure.
And in this particular case, there is another side to the story, which was something that at the time I, as chair, couldn't have and still shouldn't, in my opinion, discuss, but you do take actions accordingly. So I'm not sure exactly where that information could be found in more detail, but I can appreciate it, and I just want people to know that when things were done, at least when I was the chair, there was definite rationale and typically good purpose behind it. So I won't be supporting John Paul Torres either. And if I may, Madam Chair, I know Lois Schulman's been on the board for quite some time. She's recognized even outside of Oakland County and Lansing on different committees, et cetera. And so my suggestion would be to consider keeping her in place in the continuity that we have on that board. So, thank you.
Yeah, Gershenson and then Commissioner Todd.
And just for clarification, I never would have brought that up.
No, I understand.
Okay, but there's 2 positions open. One is, which I'm assuming we're discussing, the full term.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that as
Okay.
soon as we finish.
Okay, I just wanted to get clarification.
And since you brought up and we're in the middle of discussion, there are 2 positions that's open. One is a full term, and the second one is a partial term because of a resignation. So, the first position that I will be asking for nominations for is for the full term, and then followed by the partial term. As we're discussing the candidates, is there any other discussion before we open it up for nominations? Okay. For the full term on the Mental Health Authority, are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Jean Paul Torres for a full-term general public seat.
Okay. Is there a second? Seconded. Okay. Are there any further nominations for the full term? Commissioner Ginger.
I'd like to nominate Lois Schulman for the full term.
Support. May I speak on that, please? Lois Schulman is currently,
Commissioner Tom, second. Okay.
Lois
Commissioner
Schulman is
Tom.
currently the vice chair of the whole state of Michigan. Okay? And her opportunity to serve and honor us as chair for all the mental health organizations in the state of Michigan is coming up. I would hate for her to only be able to serve a single term and then have her booted off because she isn't renewed again or something. So I am suggesting that Lois Schulman serve the full term under these circumstances. She is an incredibly hard worker and one of the most decent human beings I have ever met in my life, period. So,
yes, Commissioner Gershon, I'll get to you in a minute. Sure. I don't have it with me, but I was reading something last night. To be able to serve on the Michigan Mental Health, Authority. I was under the impression impression that you don't necessarily have to serve on a local board, is that true? That's
Yeah,
something-
that's not true.
That's not true?
That's not true.
Oh, okay.
You have to serve on a local board, you don't have to be a county commissioner, okay? In other words, you can be anyone on that local board or board consortium. That's another thing. Or you could be a member of you could be a PHP member, but it doesn't work in Oakland County because we are our own PHP. So everybody who's on the mental health board now is a member of the PHP as well.
Thank you for that clarity. Commissioner Gershenson.
Well, I was just going to say that I was aware of Ms. Schulman's many contributions and that she has sat on that board for many years. Not the community mental health, but the other board where according to my information, she served as vice chair for many years. That was the information I got. For the authority. Is that the one we're talking about that she's up for chair?
No,
I'm talking about the committee, not the community mental health board, but the one that you're talking about.
the one
that
in
she's-
Lansing.
Yeah,
She has not been vice chair for many years. She
Okay.
was just elected to vice chair, so that means that she's got to move, and the chair generally serves for 2 terms.
has she served on that committee for many years?
In Lansing,
In
yes.
that- Yes, okay, so, excuse me, that's what I must have heard, so.
Any further discussion? We have 2 nominations. Yes. We have 2 nominations. The first one was Torres. Mr. John Paul Torres. We'll vote on Mr. Torres first.
Okay, Todd,
No.
Nelson,
Yes.
Gingell,
No.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Lubes,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
1 yeas, 2 nays.
Second.
For Schulman.
Yes.
Nelson,
No.
Gingell,
Yes.
Gershenson,
No.
Lubes,
No.
Todd,
No. Oh, wait,
Schulman.
yes.
Quarles,
No.
2 yeas, 4 nays.
So our recommendation for the full term for general public will be Mr. John Paul Torres. We'll begin the discussion on the partial term. Any
How
discuss-
long is that term?
That is,
Expires March 31, 2021.
2021?
yeah.
Correct.
Any discussion?
I'd like to nominate Lois Schulman.
Well, we're in discussion right now. Anything else you want to add that you didn't say the first time, Commissioner Tom?
Is this
Okay.
No. Oh, okay.
Any further discussion on Mrs. Schulman? That's who's on.
No, I wanted to discuss something else.
Okay, well, then moving on to the next candidate up for discussion. Commissioner Gershenson.
Okay, I wanted the committee to consider Judith Summers. And certainly I'm open to any other discussion on this one. But Ms. Summers, I think she's currently chair. Is she chair? Yes.
She is.
And
That
I
was my
just,
readings.
Again, as if there are other candidates, I'm open on this position, but my concern is to not have the chair return when there's new members coming on, just on the continuity. Certainly, no one can deny Judith Summers' contributions. She's been chair a few times, I believe, and she was a primary consumer. Her daughter, she was secondary, but it was her daughter.
Yeah, it was her daughter. It's, in
Oh,
the
it was her daughter,
application,
sorry.
yeah.
So it was secondary who recently passed away. And Ms. Summers indicated in a letter to us that this would be her last,
Yeah.
she would like to fill it. And I think that we should consider it for continuity, but again, I do feel open if anybody else wants to speak to any other candidates.
Okay. Ms. Summers is up for discussion. Any further discussion on?
I think that she brings significant value given not only the work that she's already done, but just bringing in the perspective of a parent who has worked through the system, having a daughter in the system and receiving services. That perspective sometimes is left out, and I think that that's a really great, valuable asset to bring to the board, to have that perspective piece.
Any further discussion? Closing discussion, nomination for the partial term. Commissioner Gershenson.
I'll nominate Judith Summers.
Okay. Is there a second to Judy Summers? Commissioner Nelson. Any further nominations?
I'll nominate Lois Schulman.
Support.
Okay. Shulman was nominated by Commissioner Gentry and supported by Commissioner Tom. Any further nominations? Any further nominations? We'll call nominations closed then. Would you call the roll on the first nominee, which was Ms. Summers?
Gingell,
No.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Lubes,
Yes.
Todd,
No.
Nelson,
Yes.
Quarles.
Yes. Second nominee?
Madam Chair, before we go forward, can I just ask for clarification? Can you vote yes for both people? You can. You could vote yes for
Different
both.
vote.
Yeah, it's a different vote.
Now for Shulman. Gershenson,
I'm gonna pass.
okay. Lubes,
No.
Todd,
Yes.
Nelson,
No.
Gingell,
Yes.
Quarles,
No.
Gershenson,
I'm gonna vote yes on
okay, and Quarles.
I'm voting no.
So we have 3 yeas and 3 noes.
3 noes, then I'll change my vote. It doesn't matter?
It doesn't
Because
matter.
it fails?
We need a majority.
Okay,
If it
then I'll
fails,
keep my
we
vote.
have a
Sorry.
majority.
So,
A tie fails.
if there were 4 noes, how is that a tie?
No,
There's
because
3 and 3.
Oh, you voted,
I voted yes because it's tied. Right.
Are you changing your vote or are you keeping
No,
yes?
if you're telling me,
You need a majority to pass.
Yeah.
So,
so a majority would be 4 votes.
correct,
but if it's a tie, then then it fails.
correct.
Madam Chair. So this particular vote was for Lois Schulman, and as I understand it, it's 3-3, so it would fail, which means Summers would be the recommendation of this committee based on the votes. I think that is right.
Yes, it is, but I guess I was listening to Commissioner Gershenson, and she was saying she was gonna change her vote, and I was trying to see.
I see.
I was trying to get, are
That's
you
what I was
staying with the yes
I
or no?
will stay with the yes.
You wanna stay with the yes? Well then, yes, it was tie, failed, and.
3 is the final vote.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Fails.
was trying to keep up.
It failed, and the nominee is
So Summers.
Summers. So the recommendation from this committee for the partial term will be Judith Summers. Okay? Any other business coming before the committee?